and welcome back to Live, Love, Life, and Travel. This is your girl Shamika. So today is going to be a bit of a different video. It's going to be my first ever story time video. I'm going to tell you the story of how I ran away from home. So my runaway story. And so a couple of months ago, I kind of put out this celebratory, I've been traveling for a year now and this is what I've learned. And kind of spontaneously, it turned into sort of a testimonial video of where I came from and how I got to the place I am today. And sort of, I've kind of talked about the abuse that I experienced as a child. And so this is sort of like a part of that story. Running away from home was it was a pivotal moment in my life. It was one of the most important decisions I've ever made in my life and ever will make, and probably the smartest decision. And I say that beyond having kids or finding a life partner or traveling the world or buying a house, because if I didn't run away from home, none of this would happen. So any future accomplishment that I achieve would have not happened if I did not run away from home. So it was the best choice I could have made for myself. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I had at this point suffered probably 10 years of extreme physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, and even sometimes sexual abuse. So on this particular day, I was braiding my mom's hair. And I was in charge of braiding my mom's hair, my own, and my little sister's hair. And so it was always an anxiety-ridden task for me, because anything that I messed up, whether the braid was too frizzy or I made the braids too big or too small, I would get an ass kicking. And so I was in the midst of braiding my mom's hair and we ran out of hair, and so she sent me to a hair supply store that was probably a mile or so away from home to buy some new hair. And if you ever have bought hair before, they come in colors, and sometimes they come in like numbers like B1 or B2, and like it's just like maybe B2 is just a tad bit darker or lighter than B1. So anyway, I was buying her like this reddish burgundy hair or whatever, and I was like a number off, so the hair color was a bit darker or a bit lighter than what she wanted. And boy, was that not good. Boy, was she pissed off about that. I got my ass kicked once I got home in the form of breaking like a board. I don't want to say a 2x4, but a 2x4 like board across my back after hitting me a few times with it. She hit me in the head with a hammer, and then she continued to pull out a handful of my hair right in the front, so I had pretty much like a bald spot right in the front of my hair. And so that lasted for a little bit, and then she threw the hair back at me and told me to go back to the store, buy the right hair, and when I got home she would continue to kick my ass, or she would continue to beat me. And so I wiped off any blood that I had, I patched up any wounds that I had, I got redressed, wiped my tears away, and I marched my black ass back to the hair supply store. So I got there, and this time I was damned. I definitely got the right hair color she wanted. I paid for it, and then I was on my way out of the hair supply store. And it was the weirdest, most, I don't know, almost supernatural moment I've ever experienced. Like, I was barely a few steps out of the store and I just stopped dead in my tracks. Like, I just froze. And then I thought to myself, what am I doing? Why am I walking back to someone who already told me she's going to continue to beat me? And before I can even finish my thoughts, the only thing that I could the only way I can describe this feeling was almost like the voice of God. It was like all I heard was this loud, like, just run, 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 run. That's all I heard in my head. It wasn't even like it was my voice. It was like something just said, run, get the fuck out of there. I went from being stopped dead in my tracks to sprinting and running like my life depended on it, in which I felt like it did. I ran the fastest ever run. I remember when I was running, everything was magnetized. Like I was sweating and crying and sobbing and then running and just feeling my feet hitting the pavement as hard as it can, and my heart beating so like a heart in my chest, like I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I remember as I was running, I started to think to myself like, oh my gosh, like my mom's gonna start to wonder where I am and she's gonna come looking for me. My mom has on many occasions threatened me, and not just me, other people too, with a shotgun that she had. She had a shotgun and a rifle, and she would tell me sometimes that she was going to kill me, and then that she was going to take my body to a field and just tell people that I ran away. She would even show me how to like do it myself. Like she would say like, if you put the shotgun in your mouth and like put the shotgun right up and put the shotgun in your mouth, you can pull the trigger by putting your thumb on it and blowing my own brains out. And she would say if I loved the family enough, I would do it because I was a burden on the family. Anyway, so I started thinking that. I kept picturing her in the car with the shotgun out of the window. Yeah, she would be driving and having the shotgun out of the window, and I kept thinking any moment now there was gonna be a blood splatter from the back of my head, and then that she would keep her promise and take me to a field and tell people I ran away, which I was actually this time trying to run away. So I thought to myself that I have to get off the street. I can't be visible. So I started only running through alleyways and through people's backyards as much as I could. So I was going through alleyways and I was jumping and climbing and jumping and climbing and jumping and climbing and jumping and climbing over people's fences. Sometimes running away from dogs and chickens, and people had chickens for some reason in the area. I didn't stop. Like I ran miles. Like I ran from the other side of 8 Mile past the state fairground, which if you're from Detroit, you know where that is. Not the part where you ever see like Eminem, that movie 8 Mile, the other side of 8 Mile, the bad part. We had just moved there. So I was coming from there all the way to Green Acres, Sherwood Forest area, which is the next part of 8 Mile, the other side of the state fair. So it's not the super far, but it's not close either. And I did not stop because I just thought any moment now that I was going to get caught. So running and crying in this oversized boy giant t-shirt that had paint stains on because I wore it when we were remodeling our other house, and in my pajamas pants, and just people looking at me wondering what the fuck was going on. No one stopped to ask me for help. And so I ran, and then I ran into the only person that I can think of, which is who I now call my mom, my godmom, Cindy. And for a few years before that, she was pretty much the only person that really ever approached me about the abuse, even though it was evident to other people, especially once I ran away and started talking to other people about it and becoming more vocal about my abuse. People came out of the woodwork telling me how much they knew the abuse was going on, and they would say it almost like they should deserve a cookie because they cracked the code, but never ever actually spoke up. So yes, if you know some abuse is going on, people, speak the fuck up. Anyway, and so she had approached me many times, telling me she knew something was going on and she knew there was abuse. And even though I denied it, and even sometimes I was a complete bitch to her and had attitudes and tell her to mind her own fucking business, she continued, and not only just like telling me or approaching me about the abuse, but sometimes just being nice and kind to me. Like if she saw me walking home from school or to school, she would pick me up and just take me to have breakfast or lunch without even ever bringing up the abuse. And I think her goal was just to show me that just show me kindness. And she said one time to me, if I ever needed a place to go, that her door was always open. And I always remember that. So when I ran away, in the midst of me running with my thoughts completely jumbled up, because I was thinking, should I go back? Should I not go back? If I go back now, I can make up a reason and she might believe me and I can just take the beating, it will be okay. But through all my jumbled thoughts and crying and confusion and my heart beating like it was gonna pop out of my chest, I thought where I was gonna go, and it was her. And so I ran all the way to Green Acres and to her house, and I knocked on the door, sweaty, crying, clean, dirty, looking probably like a mad woman, like breathing really heavily, and she was not home. But her son was home. My now godbrother, Andre, was home, and I'm panting and sweaty, and he opens the door, and I ask, is Cindy Jenkins home? And he says she's not. She was, I believe in Tennessee, I think, doing a college tour with my now god sister. And he was like, yeah, she's not here. She'll be back in 3 days. You can come back then. And I said, okay. You know, like, oh, that's all right. I'll just go back to my abusive mother so she can kill me. But no, I was thinking, okay, now what I'm going to do? So she'll be back in 3 days. So what I decided to do was camp in her backyard. I camped in this woman's backyard for 3 days. I went to her, I think there was either a lounge chair already out in the backyard or in the garage. Either way, I pulled it open. I found some old clothes in the garage, and I like put them down, made a mat, and then I would cover myself up when I went to sleep. And so for 3 days, morning and night, I slept in her backyard. And for food, I shoplift. I was really good at shoplifting when I was a kid. I blame it on a psychological trauma that was caused on me. So I shoplift for food, and I also shoplift for some new clothes, which I almost got caught, but I escaped because I'm like James Bond. I'm like a ninja. I bought some books. I actually stole this amazing book about this child who also suffered abuse, and now is sort of this best-selling writer. And even though like I had no idea what was gonna happen, I didn't know she was gonna pull up and be like, what the fuck are you doing in my backyard? If her son would call the police on me, if they would call my mom and contact my mother to come get me. I didn't know what was gonna happen. And yes, I was cold at night and I was sleeping. I had no roof over my head. It was the best 3 days I had in many years. Then I remember the first time I woke up and I was just able to breathe. Like, I didn't have to wake up and think, when was I gonna get hit today? What am I gonna do to piss off my mom? You know, am I gonna have to bandage up a wound today? Like, I didn't, for the first time in 10 years, I didn't wake up scared. I didn't wake up afraid. I didn't wake up panicked. I didn't wake up stressed out. I woke up like on my lounge chair with old clothes and stolen food. I woke up happy and able to breathe. And so I did that for 3 days. And then on the last day, I just decided to sort of walk around the neighborhood. It was a pretty neighborhood, tree-lined streets, really pretty, really picturesque. So I walked around and I was just happy as a daisy, looking at the trees and looking at these houses, and it was sunny and the weather was good. And then as I'm going around the corner back to the house I was sleeping in the backyard of, I see my godmom, then just Miss Sydney Jenkins, standing outside. As soon as she saw me, she just like opened her arms, like, come to me, like, run to me, like a mom, you know, calling for her little child to pick her up and swing her around. That's kind of how it was. And I, without hesitation, I ran over to her and wrapped my arms around her, and she wrapped her arms around me, and she just hugged me so tight. And from that moment on, I was a part of the family. She never tried to get rid of me. She never tried to find an alternative place for me to go. She never tried to convince me to go back home. Like, she listened to my story and she understood. And from that moment on, I was a part of the family without any question, without any strings attached, and without any like just like this immediate acceptance and immediate love, and from everybody, not just my godmom, from I think it was like 12 of us in the house, like my little brother, especially my little brothers and my little sisters. My older brothers and sisters are the ones that are around my age. Took a little bit more time. We would start off just like friends, and then we became like sisters and brothers. And yes, there were still flaws, and like every family has their issues, and like my mom's very religious, and sometimes we get in fights. And when I say my mom, I mean my godmom, the woman who took me in when I ran away. But she would always and forever be my angel, because God blessed me so much by through working and through speaking through her to bring me to take me into her home, and not just take me into her home, but take me into her heart and everyone else involved. And that is also, I mean, their grandma and their auntie, like their grandma is like my grandma, and their aunties are like my aunties, and their cousins are like my cousins. It was just like this acceptance that I hadn't experienced, of course, because I was living in a nightmare, in a horrible, unlivable, unimaginable nightmare for majority of my childhood. And I believe without a doubt, if I didn't run away and if she wasn't the home that I ran to, I wouldn't be here today. Some of my aunties and uncles had a problem at first when I first ran away to hers, because they couldn't understand why I didn't run away to them, being that they were my blood family. And I just felt like they didn't have the tools at the time to handle someone with my emotional baggage. They didn't have they didn't know, they would have not known what to do with me. And I think she knew what to do. She had the tools to give to me, so I can learn how to sort of build up myself. And so that's why I said, I think if I ran anywhere else, I wouldn't be here today. If I didn't run, I wouldn't be here today. So that's why I said that it's probably the most important and the best decision I will ever make in my whole entire life. And so that, in a nutshell, is my runaway story. Do I encourage all the 16-year-olds to run away from home just because mommy and daddy took their cell phone away from them? No. But I do encourage anybody who's in an abusive situation or an unhealthy situation, whether that's a relationship with someone outside of your family or inside of your family, whether it's a job or a personal, like, just to get the fuck out. You need to take care of yourself, because you can be missing out on a lot of opportunities that you can gain in the future by not making the decision right now in the present. So if you are in any situation that is not good for you, mentally, spiritually, physically, or emotionally, financially, whatever, get out. You need to take care of yourself, because you're definitely fucking worth it. You are not worth someone beating you down or tearing you down and making you feel bad, making you feel worthless, making you feel like a loser, making you question yourself. That is not what your worth is. And you need to find the strength and find that voice that screams to you, get the fuck out. Okay? So that's it. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to comment down in the comment section below. If you have any of your own runaway stories that you want to share, or if you feel like you want to run and you're too scared, feel free to comment down below. You can always comment anonymously if you don't want anybody to come or track you down, because I've said this before many times that we can all inspire each other, no matter who you are or where you're coming from. So if you have anything that's going to help anybody out or uplift anyone or gain knowledge, this is the community and a safe place where you can do it. So if you like this video, please feel free to like it. If you want to continue to follow my journey, please subscribe. Thank you again from Live, Love, Life, and Travel.